Hello, hello, hello. Can y'all hear me? Let me know if you can hear me in the comments section. Let me get all this together. We're going to talk about this today, right? This is going to be good. The accounting industry is broken, right? It's going to be a good one. Let me know if you guys can hear me in the comments section because I'm going to definitely dive into this, and we're going to pull up the threads post that was made to talk about this in detail, right? And for someone like myself that has been in this game for 17 years, y'all, I got a lot to talk about. I got a lot to put into this conversation, right? But if you can hear me, let me know in the comments. If you can see me, let me know so that I can get going with this conversation. The accounting and CPA and bookkeeping industry is so broken. This is what a person on Threads talked about yesterday, and it was an interesting conversation, right? Because the person talked about all the different things that have happened in their accounting relationships, and then a lot of people chimed in as well. They talked about their experiences, and so we're going to dive deep into it so that we can have a really good conversation. So I'm going to share my screens. I'm seeing a few people in the comments saying that they can hear and see me. So we're going to dive in. Let me share my screen so we can go over what was posted, and then I'll give you my perspective on everything. If y'all can hear some cartoons in the background, the kids are home, so they are watching TV. Okay, I got it. If y'all can see the screen, let me know. But essentially, Lovey made a post 20 hours ago titled "The Bookkeeping CPA Industry is So Broken." All right, and she said, "I have so many horror stories, so many, and I've talked to others, and we are all fed up about it. And when even looking for recommendations, no one is enthusiastic about who they have. It's like we're all suffering through it. I got too many stories of ghosting, of overcharging, not doing the work. Why is that industry in such shambles?" All right, let's go to the third one. Some horror stories across CPA, finance, CFO teams I've had over the years. This is her personal horror stories. I went all year without adding my 401k contributions. I happened to find out because I asked in October of that year. I had to catch up on the entire year in 2 months. If y'all don't know what that means, she's contributing to her 401k, and she wants to contribute to her 401k every single month. But the CPA or person that she was working with didn't alert her about that. And she had to ask them about it. And when she asked, they said, "Oh, you know what? Now you can add it." And she had to now add pretty much from January through December, which is, I'm sure, is a lot of money. She had to catch all that up. Unacceptable. Next, she said she opened tax accounts for me across 5 states because I was paying people. Then they moved me to a PEO, but didn't close the state accounts. So I kept getting notified to file taxes across states. Right. For those who don't know, she most likely, I think she sells books, right? So whenever you are in e-commerce, you have Nexus, sales tax Nexus. So what does that mean? That means that if you sell over a certain amount of money in a state, or if you sell a certain amount of transactions over a certain amount, normally it's 200 transactions, or I want to say like 200,000, something like that. Right. But every state is different. Right. And so if you have a great accountant, they are tracking that for you, and they're letting you know, like, "Hey, Lovey, you've reached the nexus in this state. It's time for you to start collecting sales tax and pay it out to these states." Right. And so in her situation, she opened the tax accounts and it didn't happen. These payments weren't being sent out. Unacceptable again. Number three, they didn't file her contractor 1099s because they said they didn't have W-9s. Right. So a W-9 is a document that a contractor, whenever you hire them, they have to fill it out. Right. And a lot of people, what they do is they'll wait till the end of the year and try to get that contractor to fill out the W-9. But what ends up happening, of course, the contractor is not going to fill it out because They're like, hey, you're gonna charge me, like I'm gonna have to pay taxes on this. So they ghost you. Instead of collecting the W-9 information at the beginning of the relationship, some people try to wait to the end. And this is what happened. She says she has more stories. One team went ghost. Turns out she had surgery, but she had told me she had a team and was not solo. Turns out that wasn't true. So she left my bills unpaid for weeks without word. It's crazy. An accountant saying that they have a team, but they were lying. They were solo. Unacceptable once again. Next, refused to pay an important bill during the holidays because she said the offices were closed. The offices were closed, so I'm not paying the bill. Next, switch my 401k provider without telling my financial advisor, who actually set up my entire 401k plan. So we then had to go through a painful switch back. Accountants, bookkeepers have worn me out. I want y'all, if y'all have had any similar situations, let me know in the comments. Let me know in the comments. Like I want to hear from everybody. Have you had any bad accounting experiences? Let me know. And then she doubled back. She said, hey, another horror story. My money team did not put through a tax amendment that I signed. So 1 year later, I got a 5-figure tax bill that was completely unexpected. And they were a team I was no longer working with. I had to go back to them because who was paying this? Endless stories. And the thing people cannot say is that I cheaped out on them. I pay people what they tell me to pay. So what she's saying is she has a conversation with an accountant. She asked the accountant, what's their price? And the accountant now says, I want to be paid X amount of dollars per month or per project or per engagement. And she is saying, I'm not even negotiating. I'm saying, you know what? That's your price. I respect it. I'm going to pay. That is a dream, right? When you have someone that's like, you know what? Let's go. I like it. So she says, so when they don't do the work, let's fight because I paid you a lot of money to F up on my behalf. Right. And then Hello Nicole, she added on. She said, this is probably one of the biggest pain points for business owners. We already have a million things on our plate and having to deal with keeping books up to date, tax filings, state tax filings, 1099s, P&Ls, balance sheets, etc. is insane. Right. Lovey said insane and so stressful. Your family CPA, and I'm going to dive into my thoughts, right? But your family CPA said some good things. She said, so I'm a CPA. I think the industry is broken because there's so many people impersonating CPAs and doing people wrong that it makes it hard for those of us who really are credentialed. I'll be honest, a major part of our work consists of being therapists because of the horror stories people have experienced. Also, at the same time, people need to understand that a bookkeeper is not an accountant. An accountant isn't necessarily a CPA. And a CPA doesn't just do taxes. It's so much to unpack. All right, let me unshare so we can dive deeper into this, right? So, okay, let's talk about what Lovey said. She said the accounting, CPA, bookkeeping industry is broken. And yeah, I can understand why she would say that. And here's my thoughts on it, right? Because I've been in this for 17 years now. When I first started, it was just me. But then I realized that, okay, if I want to grow, I need to go out there and I need to find some good people. Right. So I made my first key hire literally 10 years ago. And Jerry, shout out to Jerry. If y'all know him, drop him some love in the comments. But I hired Jerry. I was inexperienced in what I was doing. He was inexperienced in what he was doing, but we gave each other a chance. And, he came in and he really helped with learning the accounting, understanding it, right? Which gave me the opportunity to now say, okay, I trust that my accounting, my bookkeeping that I'm going to do for clients is going to be under control. It's going to be taken care of because I got someone like him who is great at what he does. So now I can go spread my wings and I can go focus on other things in the business, right? But that's where a lot of accountants make the mistake. A lot of accountants tend to want to do everything solo. And we're not even going to talk about the people who want to do everything solo and don't charge enough, right? Because when you think about it, you're probably not going to charge enough because you are solo. So it's like, if I'm doing all the work, I don't have to charge more because my overhead is lower. And a lot of accountants tend to jump into the industry while they're still working. So if you're getting that income from your job, you probably say to yourself, I really don't need to charge more because I already have income coming in. But the issue with that is now you can't go and hire great talent. You can't go hire great people because in this day and age, if you want to find really great talent and people to work with you, paying them $50,000 a year is not it. It's not cutting it, right? You got to pay some money. But the thing is, if you understand business and how it works, when you go hire great people, that frees you up to do more. That frees you up to now, instead of doing the work, you are overseeing, you are managing, you are um, seeing things that you wouldn't have seen if you're in the business, right? So this is business economics 101, right? Like getting yourself out of the business. And that's the hardest thing for a lot of accountants because we we care a lot about our clients and we feel like we are the only ones that can do the work and no one else can do it like we do. And so now what ends up happening is because you're charging cheap, you have to go get more clients just to make a living, right? Just to make enough money to pretty much pay yourself and take care of yourself. And so now guess what happens? You're signing all these clients, but you're not really hiring to the level that you should if you're hiring at all. So now you're doing all the work. And guess what happens when you're doing all the work? Burnout now happens. And now there's some other posts on that thread where they were talking about, man, my accountant ghosted me. Like I literally haven't heard from my accountant in weeks or in months. Yeah, you haven't heard from that accountant because they're overwhelmed and they didn't know how to handle all of this. They didn't know how to set boundaries. They didn't know how to talk to clients and say, here's the expectations of working with us. Here's what we bring to the table. Here's what we expect from you, right? Most accountants really, truly care about their clients to the point where we put ourselves in a position to be yes men. We put ourselves in a position to be people that take order, right? It's almost like you're an employee. And so for a lot of accountants, you're like, I didn't leave corporate to be an employee again, right? But that's where you have to learn your business. You have to learn your industry. You have to learn people, right? It's deep. And when we look at the service industry, you can be in the childcare industry. You could be in accounting. You could be in marketing. It's all people. Matter of fact, in e-commerce, it's all people management, essentially, right? So if you don't have those skills, you have to work on them. Let's talk about this too. Here's another reason why the accounting industry is broken. If you are someone, most accountants, what they'll do is, we start out doing people's taxes. So we'll do tax preparation for people. So what's tax preparation? That means literally we're in tax season. So a client has to get their taxes done by certain deadlines. And so they come to you and they say, Ephraim, I need my taxes done. And you do their taxes for them. And you probably are not charging enough. So what ends up happening is you burn yourself out. You work with 1,000 tax clients. You probably only made about, let's say, $200,000 off of that 1,000 people. Because here's another thing too. Tax preparation, it looks easy, but it's really project management. It's more project management than it is tax preparation. And why do I say that? Because 80 to 90% of the engagement with a lot of clients when it comes to preparing their taxes is chasing down documents. Hey, such and such, you're missing this W-2. Can you send this to me? Hey, such and such, I need this document. I need that document. Right. And so if you don't even have all the documents, if you don't even have all your client profiles and things filled out, you can't even move forward and do the tax return. So the tax return ends up being like the whole engagement ends up being a longer process. And so now what ends up happening is you are chasing 200, 300, 400, 500 people at one time, probably by yourself or with one other person, because you didn't set clear expectations, because you didn't talk to the client ahead of time and say, this is what needs to happen working with us, because you accepted certain behavior from certain clients, right? And accountants, if you're watching this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You gotta be better, right? And so another thing, okay, back to my point, because all these things are coming in my head. A lot of us start our career doing tax preparation, and then you realize that, oh my God, this is not sustainable because I'm only making money from January through April. And so I need to sustain myself for the rest of the year. So what ends up happening? You try to find your way into doing bookkeeping, or you try to find your way into doing payroll, or you try to find your way into doing credit repair, right? And so now, before you know it, you're doing all those things. You're paying bills. You are now a fractional CFO. So now you're meeting with clients and discussing their financial statements. You are now helping them to pay their sales tax. You are now doing all these different service items. There's some accountants that are literally doing 9 to 10 service items for many clients. And they're not even realizing that, if you think about it, each of those service line items that you're doing for clients could be an individual business on its own. So now you're literally running about 9 to 10 businesses at once. I forgot another one, tax planning. That's another business. So you're literally running 9 to 10 businesses at once, and you're working with a bunch of different industries. So now you have to understand the industry knowledge of all the clients that you're working with. Now you have to understand the different nuances in all the different service items that you're servicing and that you're preparing for your clients, right? And so what ends up happening is, because a lot of accountants are chasing the money and they're trying to pay their bills, they take on engagements that they may not be prepared for. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with taking on an engagement that you're not prepared for if you talk to the client ahead of time and you tell them, like, hey, man, I'm taking you on. I don't necessarily have this much experience in this or that, but I have the resources. I have the network. I have people in my network that are accountants that specialize in these areas that can come in and help me. But we don't do that. We end up doing the work ourselves and trying to figure everything out ourselves. So now you're running all over the place. You're operationally inefficient. And when you think about accounting or any service business, it's all operational. It's all about, how can I be efficient? And when you're working with different industries, when you're working with different services that you're offering, when you're working with different client personalities, because not every client's the same, right? When you're working with, let's say you end up hiring people, and now you have about 9 to 10 people on your team, you're working with all those personalities and all the different pressures that they have on them. You see where this can go. You see why a lot of CPAs are burning out and why they're saying, man, this ain't even worth it, right? But you got to figure out, you have to make your business more simple. You have to set boundaries. You have to say, you know what? I'm great at tax planning. I'm not great at tax preparation. Or I enjoy tax planning, but I don't enjoy tax preparation. But I understand that my client needs it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go hire somebody that is great in that area and partner with them, or I'm going to go find someone else that has a tax preparation company, and we're now going to do a joint venture. So many accountants are not, we're doing things solo. We're not merging with other people. We're not doing business with other accountants to strengthen what we do. And we're wondering why a lot of our work is subpar. We're wondering why a lot of clients are complaining. I don't blame the clients, because the clients are looking for somebody that would just do what they say, right? If you meet with someone, if you meet with an accountant and the accountant says, hey, I can do your taxes, I can make sure that they get filed on time, I can meet with you each month, I can give you expert advice, I can, do all these things, are you going to deliver? Or are you just going to collect my money? Right? The same thing that happens in the accounting industry is no different than in any other service industry. There's a lot of marketers that you could say the same thing, right? There's a lot of other people in the service space that you can say the same thing, but it all boils down to, how efficient are you? How organized? How structured? What are the types of people that you have on your team? Are they quality? Are they going to drop balls? You're going to hold them accountable? Are you able to develop a really good project management system? Are you able to put systems and processes and SOPs and playbooks in place to ensure that things don't drop? Do you have people on your team that hold themselves accountable and say, you know what? I dropped the ball. I'm going to do better. And here's why here's the things that I'm going to do differently next time. Right? If you don't have that, you're in for a rude awakening. You're in for, like, a lot of people think the accounting space is easy money. And I tell you, it's not. right? It is not easy money. It is definitely challenging. But that leads into my next point. If you are an accountant and this is not your passion, you need to get out. You need to get out, right? If you're not passionate about this work, you need to find something else to do, because when you're not passionate about something, balls drop. The quality of your work decreases. You don't wake up feeling good about what it is that you're doing, right? So if you don't feel good about what you're doing, it's going to translate into the work that you're doing, right? And I see a comment. Morbidly obese monkey says, "Bro, just yapping." I am, because I'm passionate about this, right? Like, this is something that I'm seeing from a lot of people. A lot of people are suffering through working with accountants that aren't really a good fit for them, or are just doing this for a paycheck. Where you got to be passionate about what it is that you're doing. Otherwise, it will show in your work. I promise you that. Next thing too, accountants, we don't educate our clients enough. We don't educate people. If you are a client and you want to work with an accountant, how can I put this, right? We don't educate because we're just focused on getting the work done. And maybe it's because we're overwhelmed, or maybe it's because of other things. Maybe it's because we don't even want to educate. We want our clients to remain in the same place that they are. But you have to take some time, specifically in the beginning of the relationship, and educate your client. Educate them on what to expect when they work with you. Educate them on what accounting is, right? Because I think a lot of times people have the wrong understanding of what an accountant is. A lot of times we think an accountant is literally someone that does all these different things. But here's what I would challenge you to think, as someone that is not an accountant and you're trying to work with someone. Whenever you go to a doctor, would you go to a pediatrician if you were just in a car accident? Would you go to, if you are trying to become a citizen of this country, would you go to an attorney that specializes in personal injury, right? If you are someone that just had a car accident, would you go to a divorce attorney? You wouldn't. So just as there's industries that have different specialties, in finance and accounting, there's a lot of different specialties, right? There's a lot of different skills that you have to have. And if you don't have those skills, you got to go find the talent that has those skills, so that now you can support your client. Because one thing is for sure, if you have a bunch of clients, you are going to have a segment of clients that outgrow you, because if you don't level up your accounting and your expertise, right? Because so many times when your client comes to me, they'll say things like, "Man, my accountant is cool, but where I'm going, I don't think that they can follow me. I don't think that they can help me get to that level, because they're just doing the bookkeeping, they're just doing the taxes for me, but they're not meeting with me. They're not analyzing things for me. They're not giving me value," right? So even though you see bookkeeping and tax preparation as value, a lot of times your client may not see it like that. They just see it as, you're just pushing paperwork, you're just getting things done. So how can you be more valuable as an accountant? And I also want you to think about this as well. AI is coming. How are you going to transition? How are you going to deal with that when that comes? It's going to disrupt every single industry. How are you going to handle that? Right? So you always have to constantly evolve. You have to constantly figure out how to level up and get better. And this message, honestly, isn't just for accountants, it's for anybody that's in business, right? If you're not leveling up and figuring out ways to bring more value, figuring out ways to just like be more intentional with your work and the service and the product that you put out there, it's going to be a long road. And morbidly obese monkeys went from saying, "I'm just yapping," to "Preach, brother," and "Respect, man. Keep up the good work, bro. Keep pushing forward. You got this." I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Um, let me check some of the comments on Instagram before I continue. Okay, Diva Hop said, "I can see and hear you." Tiffy said, "Nope, I can't relate." I appreciate you. Tiffy said she also loves Jerry. Young Absalom says, "What's up now?" And that's all I need. Okay. No, this is good, man. If you have any stories around like your accounting relationships that you've had in the past, or even your current accounting relationship, let me know in the comments. Let me know what that's been like, because obviously Lovey talked about her experiences and how a lot of that hasn't been the greatest. And she also talked about how she's talked to a lot of people in the space, like her colleagues who are not accountants, and she's asked for accounting recommendations, and people haven't been able to give her great recommendations, right? So, that's not a good look. It's not a good look on our industry. We got to get better. We have to level up. But if you don't understand that you need to hire people to support you, are you even going to have the time and the brain power to go and do continuing education, to go and do things that will help you get better at your craft? You won't, because you will be bogged down with work. Many of you are in tax season right now and you're overwhelmed, you're swamped, right? Because you're just all over the place. You haven't really taken the time to really get yourself together from a structure and operation standpoint, right? So I want all of you guys as accountants not to be, when you see these messages, don't take it personally and don't get beat up by it. Look at it as a way to get better. Look at it as a way to say, you know what? Am I in that space of people that she's talking about? And if I am, how can I get out of it? How can I be better? Matter of fact, let me ask myself, do I even want to get better? Do I want to be a better accountant? Is this really something that I want to do? If not, let me just sell my business and move into something else. I think everybody should find the thing that they're passionate about, find the thing that wakes them up, and chase that, man. So for me, am I passionate about accounting? I wouldn't necessarily say I'm passionate about accounting, but I'm passionate about what accounting can do for the people that we work with. I'm passionate about seeing the changes that it can do in people's lives, right? If you are an entrepreneur that has big goals, big dreams, and you are looking to push forward, you're looking to scale, you're looking to grow your business. If you don't have a really great accountant on your team, it's going to be an uphill battle, because you will get stalled at different stages, right? And if you don't have the numbers to look at, if you can't look at your P&L and your balance sheet with someone and look at where you're stagnant, look at the areas of opportunity, it's going to be an uphill battle. And so there's a lot of accountants, whenever I meet with people, some of the things that I hear about when I hear about the stories are, yeah, I don't meet with my accountant enough. My accountant, it's like they're avoiding me, right? I haven't spoken to them in months. Matter of fact, I only speak to them once a year. At my company, we speak to our clients literally weekly. We have meetings with them monthly. We go over their numbers, and help them understand where they stand. Excuse me, right? And then also we have communication outside of that. Another thing too, a lot of accountants, right? A lot of complaints that I get are, there's deadlines for things that need to be met, and my accountant's always missing the deadlines. They're never really helping me get these things filed on time. So now I end up paying more in penalties and interest. Here we're very deadline driven. We're going to make sure that all of our clients get their stuff filed on time, right? And if it doesn't get filed on time, it's most likely not our fault. It's most likely the client doesn't have their stuff together, right? There was a time where it was like that, right? But it's not like that anymore, right? So it's also about understanding where are your weaknesses and where can you turn up? Where can you get better? Where can you improve? Right? If I'm saying these things and you know that you are some of those people that, it fits as an accountant, what can you do to get better? You might say to yourself, you know what? I have too many clients. I need to drop some just so that I can level up and then I can add them back later. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with releasing clients if you feel you're in over your head, because you're actually looking out for them. Right? What are some other things? Maybe on the weekend, instead of me hanging out, I can take some time and I can get my structure together. I can get my order together. I can create some systems and some processes and some playbooks, right? I can work on my business. I can learn more about my business so that I can be a better operator for my clients. The majority of our clients that we work with now have big goals and big dreams, and they're trying to get there quickly. And it would be bad. It would be very, very sad if we weren't able to support them in the way that they need to be supported, right? but I also understand the stress that comes with it. Here's another thing too that people don't talk about. When we are accountants, people don't talk about. Are y'all ready? People don't talk about how there's a lot of excuse me, a lot of heaviness that clients go through that a lot of times gets transferred to you as the accountant, because when you meet with them, they're talking about their issues, their situations. And if you have been paying attention to the economy, just to like a lot of businesses in these past couple of years, there's been a lot of businesses closing down. There's been a lot of bankruptcies. There's been a lot of things happening. And a lot of these people do have accountants. You think their accountant is not feeling that with them? You think their accountant is not having those conversations with them and not figuring out ways to help them and not going to sleep at night with all that? And so now you're going to sleep with that, with multiple clients that are going through the same thing. So when we look at the accounting space, a lot of times it's, oh, y'all just filing taxes, y'all just doing this and doing that. It's much, much deeper, much, much deeper. But accountants don't really talk about it because then it looks like you're complaining, right? But I want to definitely talk about this. And who knows, maybe this might be like a multiple, it might be a multiple stream, right? Where we talk about this more. There might be some other layers that I'll dive into, right? And I just wanted to jump on and talk about it because, it is important. But I think that accountants need to voice what they're going through more, because who knows? The right clients might actually say, you know what? I support you. I understand what you're going through, and I want to help be a better client for you, right? Instead of keeping that to yourself, voice that, talk to your clients. We have some great clients, man. I can't complain about the clients that we're working with at this point. All of them are amazing. All of them do what we need them to do. And in turn, we do what they need us to do. And it's a relationship, it's we have about over 100 clients. So it's like literally being in like 100 different relationships or whatnot, right? And, it's just one of those things where even when there are times where you are wrong, can you admit to your client, hey, I dropped the ball, I screwed up, I apologize, but I'm going to get better. This is not going to happen again, So I wanted to come on to really talk about this because I think it's something that, a lot of people need to have more conversations around, just to understand the accounting industry and the accounting space. Because as you understand the accounting space, then now you can hire better accountants, you can hold them accountable better, you can have a better working relationship with them, and you can see the outcomes that you're looking for, right? And shout out to all the great accountants out there that are doing their thing, right? This message is not for you because you already have it figured out, but if you are an accountant that is struggling, take some time to really look at, what's going wrong in your space and figure out ways that you can get better. All right, guys. I will talk to you guys soon. I got some things to do, but until next time, we'll talk.